So wanted to cover just a couple things on Winter's Orb for the 3.6. First off, let's talk about a tree or a change to a tree I've made. I've gotten rid of this dexterity node and this Valpact. Thing with Valpact is, if you'll notice, it says from life leech is doubled, and even though we're taking Ghost Reaver, which says leech energy shield instead of life. The recovery is max energy shield of leech, or energy shield leech is doubled. So while this will convert life leech into energy shield leech, it doesn't actually convert the Valpact's effect, meaning the life leech's doubled rate, recovery rate isn't actually ever doubled or applied to energy shield. It's so they kind of split life leech out and energy shield leech, two separate things. Valpact doubles your leech rate only for life, and Ghost Reaver doubles it for energy shield. And then Ghost Reaver also does the conversion aspect, where if you've just got like Warlords, it'll do energy shield leech instead. But the leech rates are two separate values. You could technically be leeching energy shield and life now at two separate rates, which would kind of be an interesting thing to try at one point, because you get energy shield for spell damage. So if you had like a Poet's Pen, for example, the attack portion could be doing life leech. The the spells would be energy leeching. Obviously you wouldn't take Ghost River in that case, but that's different video, different time, different build. So I just wanted to point out that there's no point to get the Valpact. Usually I take this node early on. Just don't even bother, because that way you'll still have your life regeneration while you're still trying to go through your mid 40s, 50s when you're kind of borderline going ES or not. So so far, just kind of show you the leech here. I haven't quite got Light Eater, but I do have Ghost Reaver, and Lucidity is actually really good. That -3 total mana cost plays off huge, because if you see, even on a simple 4 link, we're only at 6 mana cost now, which means like a -7 or -6 ring completely wipes our mana cost out, which means if we take something like this node here, we can technically do 100% reservation minus the 4%. That'll give you just enough to have a positive mana, and you're good to go. Granted, casting things like your golems and flame dash might be a little rough. But if you're not too worried about that, and usually if you leave flame dash level 1 and don't link it with faster casting, which with all the extra speed stuff that we're getting, is doable. You can actually squeeze out running 2 auras or 2 heralds and an aura, those kinds of things. So that kind of just gives you the mana that you need, because you'll actually be at a negative mana. You still have to have at least 1 mana, even if you're at negative mana cost, because it's always going to end up being kind of a mana cost, just to give you an idea. But this one node right here can basically let you dual run like a Hatred and Discipline if you want to go that route. Or it's really comfortable if you want to run 2 heralds at the same time, etc. I'll show you a little bit of the leech rate. It is pretty decent at this point. As you can see, if we get hit here in a second, we're just kind of bouncing right back with the leech here. So this character doesn't really have any gear on at the moment. I mean, all intents and purposes, we just have our whispering. Here we go, that should work. As an example there. Here we go. So you can see how quick we're bouncing back, and we only have the Ghost Reaver and the one ES Leech Will. Once we get the light, we should be able to pretty much just tank. I don't know if you'd want to try face tanking like a big boss or a big head or something that's got a lot of mods to it. Like some of the Kavass stuff can be a little sketchy. just because they're hitting pretty hard. And it does take a little bit for the leech to kind of build up, get going. Once you do though, it just kind of just trims right out through it for you. One side option on leveling that can actually play out pretty decent is Winter's Orb really only does good once you get greater multiple projectiles. One thing you can do is switch to Storm Burst, especially early on, because I think you can get Storm Burst at like 12. So I was leveling with Storm Burst early on as my channeling with my Winter's Orb, and it actually works quite well as our channeling. Let me put it in here. So, because you're basically aiming the Storm Burst where you want the damage to happen, which also kind of works well with where you want Ice Storm to be. So, because wherever you point your mouse at is where Ice Storm goes. So it kind of ties in really good with Storm Burst for early on leveling. Now with how infused channeling works, you're obviously going to want to keep with Winter's Orb because infused channeling gives you more damage of the type of element that you're using or the skill gem that's being channeled. And to give you an example here, so right now we're channeling this lightning storm burst, so we have 10% more lightning damage, whereas if we put, while we're channeling, we put Winter's Orb in instead, and we look down here, then we get 10% more cold damage, so that'll impact our overall damage as a multiplier to our Ice Storm. So in-game, definitely Winter's Orb. Leveling though, Storm Burst is not a bad option. I even tried Divine Ire. It doesn't work very well as a channeling for Ice Storm. Let's see, do I still, where's that? Here it is. And the reason for that is just because you're always kind of pumping it in regards to the damage, you charge, and then you kind of shoot. You charge and shoot. And it's kind of a little tricky to get the beam lined up where you really want the beam and get where you want your Ice Storm to be. It's not bad if you like the effect and how it plays. Storm Burst kind of work better for a leveling, I thought, because they just tie in exactly together. And don't get me wrong, Winter's Orb's perfectly fine once you get your greater and you get Winter's Orb, but you know, that's kind of later on. It's about the same time you get your staff though, so play either which way you want to. Winter's Orb I found was a little slower, only on the aspect that you're kind of front loading some of the damage with the charge, whereas Storm Burst you're just kind of pointing and going at the same time. So just wanted to point that out. The build's feeling really strong. Content's been pretty easy to deal with. Bosses go down quick. As you can see, I'm running this with pretty much no gear at the moment. Just a few picked up pieces and still got really good damage, good leech. Things feel comfortable. So definitely worth going for. I just kind of wanted to mention some of the tricks with the Storm Burst leveling early on as a good way to get that done. Dropping the Vow Pact because it doesn't have any impact. Realizing that because of the infused or the -3 mana cost, grab you a cheap ring if you can with minus mana on it and basically null out your mana cost. That way you can just sit there and channel and channel and channel on a boss all day long. And then with the reduced mana node and enjoy. It's going to end up turning out to be really, really strong in the end. And I intend to build this out the rest of the way. Just kind of been playing a couple other builds and trying a few different things. So anyways, subscribe, like, and appreciate it. See you next time.